Hi citizens, this is Jim with JP Reacts, where you come to think like a politician, to find out what they mean by what they say and what they don't say. Today on this video, we're going to be covering the speech after the impeachment vote in the Senate by Mitch McConnell. It's a little bit longer. I'm hoping I can get it cut down based on editing into one video. If not, it'll be two. So if it does end up being two, you'll get one video today and one video tomorrow. That's the way I usually do it when we have multiple versions. But hopefully you can get some insight on what he meant by what he was saying after the vote that acquitted former President Trump. If you're interested in that, stay tuned after this. Okay, so we're going to jump right in again. This is Mitch McConnell's comments after the Senate voted 57-43 to acquit President Trump. Again, to convict in an impeachment setting, you need 67 votes. So that means 43 senators voted essentially with the insurrectionists this time. So that's not exactly the best way to go. But I want to really focus on Mitch McConnell here. I haven't listened to the full remarks, but he has made some, from what I've seen in the news, some interesting comments in this section. I want to make sure that we have a good chance to cover it. So let's jump right in, and we'll see where it goes.
They built a gallows and chanted about murdering the vice president. They did this because they'd been fed wild falsehoods by the most powerful man on earth. Because he was angry he'd lost an election.
I want to stop it there. Yes, President Trump did incite this riot, this attack, this terrorist attack, insurrection, however you want to phrase it, on the Capitol. But he wasn't alone. There were many people in Congress that also made the flames grow too. Senator Cruz, for one, Senator from Texas, Senator Hawley from, I think, Missouri, were two key members that were bringing up objections to certain vote totals. Not in their states, in other states. So it's not just President Trump that incited this terrorist attack. It's others in Congress, and there should be some culpability there. I do appreciate that Senator McConnell is acknowledging that President Trump was responsible for any incitement, but there are others too.
The increasingly wild myths about a reverse landslide election that was somehow being stolen, some secret coup by our now president. Now, I defended the president's right to bring any complaints to our legal system. The legal system spoke. The Electoral College spoke.
So Mitch McConnell, again, is referring to all the lawsuits that former President Trump brought in regards to the election. It was 60-some lawsuits. I think he won one very early on about the distance observers had to be in a certain precinct or something in Pennsylvania. It wasn't very substantial. But in all the other cases, he lost. The Electoral College voted and certified all the votes. All the states voted and certified all the votes. President Trump's own Homeland Security Secretary said it was the most secure election in U.S. history. So there is no doubt that President Biden won. There's no doubt that he is president, and there's nothing shady happened outside of what President Trump did himself. So the fact that Republican leader McConnell is acknowledging this is a step in the right direction, so I want to give him credit for that, because for a long time he also was murky on these details, especially as right after the election. So I appreciate he's reversing course on this. I don't want to give him too much credit, but he is at least acknowledging reality in this case, so that's a step in the right direction.
It was obvious that only President Trump could end this. He was the only one who could. Former aides publicly begged him to do so. Loyal allies frantically called the administration. president did not act swiftly. He did not do his job. He didn't take steps so federal law could be faithfully executed and order restored. No. Instead, according to public reports, he watched television happily, as the chaos unfolded.
I want to jump in here. Again, this is all true statements made by Senator McConnell. A lot of people begged him to act to try to quell the violence, and he just didn't. For a long time, the National Guard was not allowed to deploy. And I want to point out here that the fact that people were calling him, and even senators and congressmen that voted against this impeachment and this conviction, called him. So they knew that it was him who incited the attack. It was only him that would be able to quell it. So that fact alone, that senators and congresspeople when this was happening called him to try to get it to end, says how much they knew that he was the one that incited this and caused it to happen. So let that sink in as we talk through the rest of this, but we want to make sure that that the implication of those types of calls are considered when we're talking about the result here.
Now, even after it was clear to any reasonable observer that Vice President Pence was in serious danger, even as the mob, carrying Trump banners, was beating cops and breaching perimeters, the president sent a further tweet attacking his own vice president.
Real quick, I want to jump in right away again on this. The beating of the police is, I think, very clear here. A lot of these same people that were at this Trump rally during Black Lives Matter and other types of protests against police brutality always claim Blue Lives Matter too, right? That's the big thing. Blue Lives Matter, support the police, all that good stuff. And here they were attacking the Capitol, and not only attacking the Capitol, attacking the police at the Capitol. So these people, it was never about the police. So let's make sure when you hear rhetoric like that you acknowledge that it's probably when they're saying things like Blue Lives Matter in response to protest of police brutality, it's not about the police. It's about the marginalized groups and keeping them in their place.
If President Trump were still in office, I would have carefully considered whether the House managers proved their specific charge. By the strict criminal standard, the president's speech probably was not incitement.
So to jump in here, the jurisdiction argument that a lot of Republicans made is fairly ridiculous. The point of this impeachment trial was not to punish a sitting president. It was to ensure that this president was never allowed to run for office again. And also to strip him of the benefits of being a former president. And a lot of people are pointing out that why are you afraid? He lost. Why are you afraid of him running? And are you afraid of him running and winning again? No, we're not afraid. People are not afraid of him running and winning again. They're afraid of him running and losing again, and this happening again, because that's the likely outcome when you don't hold people accountable. People will keep doing things that are wrong. And what President Trump did was wrong. This comment about the criminal version of it doesn't matter. It's immaterial to this. This is not a criminal proceeding. This is a political one. So it's all about what's best for the country. And what was best for the country is to not let President Trump ever run for office again. So I find it kind of disingenuous to bring up the criminal part of it. Okay, to wrap up, I wanted to make some final comments. The reason this is an important speech, I want to make sure that we're fully aware. The fact that he's making some negative comments against Trump has been brought up as, hey, maybe there's hope. And I want to bring up the fact that this practically cost him nothing. There's been a lot of Republican politicians that have done this in the past, but when it came down to actions, they did not act in a way that would have restrained his power while he was in office, or in this case, done what was right and prevented him from being able to get any future offices. So, yeah, it's great that he publicly disavowed President Trump, but it didn't cost him anything politically because his actions spoke louder than his words. So the speech is a good, politicians give speeches like this because it's a good way to show that you're on one side, and it gets public attention, but even if and then your actions could be totally different. And in this case, his actions didn't match his language, and that's really unfortunate. But hopefully you got something out of this, and I added a little bit more detail, a little bit more context to the speech. If you did, please like the video below. And in the comments, please tell me where you think we're going to go from here. Will President Trump, basically answer this question. Will President Trump run again? And if he loses, will there be another attack, another violent outburst like this happened today? So hopefully not, in my opinion. Hopefully no to both those questions. But until I see you next time, I'll see you around the internet. You have a great day. Bye.